Anyway, you know what? This caused a lot of various views from people that the government may have been dialoguing with a bogus group and that they're not the real Boko Haram. Now, what exactly does this say about the fight against the insurgents?
Well, we see, like one of my friends will always tell you that a kick to a frog is a leap. So we should not be static. We should continue to explore all opportunities to ensure that this matter is resolved. Insurgency generally all over the world, general best practices, you don't negotiate with terrorists. But our own situation is peculiar. Whether we like it or not, it has political undertones. You know, it started with a religious inclination. But it's gone beyond that now. People are now, Muslims are attacked, Christians are attacked, government functionaries are attacked, military is attacked. So they have no boundaries anymore. So it becomes very difficult for you now to say, we cannot solve this. Every opportunity must be explored by government. If the government, people have been criticizing government for not negotiating with the terrorists. Now government is negotiating with terrorists. The same people are coming to say they have doubts. So why don't you give government opportunity to see what we can do? We need a lot of patience and understanding from Nigerians to see that this matter is resolved.
But you see, the thing is, you know, it appeared to some people as though the government put the cart before the horse, you know, coming out to announce a ceasefire, knowing that it hasn't really done, you know, what it should have done in the first place. You know, so it's coming to everyone as though the government is just looking for a way to, you know, to just calm tempers down. Or,
no, I don't agree.
I
I don't agree with that. You see, the Nigerians need assurances. The need for them to know what government is doing is very critical in resolution because it serves as confidence building in the people. You know, I think what you are just trying to say in the public domain, the media, people are saying that government is using it to maybe catch political. I don't think that's complete.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Government has achieved so much that it doesn't need to. Much as we agree that security and the welfare of the people is critical, government has achieved so much that it should not be basing its campaign on bogus promises like release of the girls that there was negotiation when there was none.
So you think the government really has no need to do that?
The government has
especially in this the heat of the campaign.
I don't think so.
All right, hold on with that thought. We're still with a former director, Department of State Services, Mr. Mike Ejiofor. We'll be back with more on the issue of the ceasefire agreement. Please stay with us.
The center can confirm to you that there has been contacts between the government of Nigeria and representatives of Boko Haram. The discussions are essentially in relation to the general insecurity in the Northeast and also the need to rescue all captives of the terrorists, including students of Government Girls Secondary School, Chibok. From the discussions, the terrorists indicated their desire for and willingness for peace and to discuss and resolve all associated issues. They also assured that the school girls and all other people in their captivity are alive and well. Already, the terrorists have announced a ceasefire in furtherance of their desire for peace. In this regard, the government of Nigeria has, in a similar vein, declared a ceasefire.
Welcome back. We're still with Mr. Mike Ejiofor, former director of the Department of State Services. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you.
Well, we're still on the issue of the ceasefire agreement, whether the federal government has been talking with a bogus group or not, and how much, the federal government is really doing in this fight. Now, really, be it true or false, the federal government has declared a hot intention to discuss with the group. So right now, do you really see this as a means to end the crisis?
Well, it is. It is a means.
Is it the right thing to end the crisis?
We should not forget that the initiative came from Boko Haram, and that Deby, the president of Chad, has also facilitated negotiations, successful negotiations, with the Cameroonian government in the release of the hostages, Chinese hostages, and the wife of the deputy prime minister. So if it's coming from them, I think we should give government a chance. And besides, the issue of terrorism is not peculiar to Nigeria. If our neighboring countries sit down and fold their hands that is a Nigerian problem, it's eventually going to get to them. And that is why the federal government of Nigeria convened a meeting, or the sub-regional meeting, where the issue of terrorism was discussed. And the countries in the sub-region agreed on a common front to fight this terrorism. And that is why Deby is also taking the lead. Of course, besides, the terrorists have been under intense attack too from the Nigerian military. They are running out of resources, so they have options to negotiate now. And I want to also use this opportunity to appeal to them. This is a golden opportunity for them to cease fire and observe the agreement reached. Because if they don't, we never can defeat government in this fight against terrorism. What it will take is time and distraction from development. But eventually, the government will overcome.
Now let's describe the sort of progress being made at this point, ever since the Chibok schoolgirls were abducted 6 months ago. This, of course, is a lot of worry to Nigerians and, of course, the international community. What sort of progress do you think we're making in this regard? Because we have international collaborations, and ever since then, we're yet to really pinpoint how much progress we have made.
Well, you see, it's not because I was in the security subsector, but I continue to emphasize that the Nigerian military and our security intelligence agencies are doing the utmost under the circumstances they find themselves.
Is it that the best is not enough?
Now, I'll give you an example. When the issue of the Chibok girls came up, United States offered to assist. UK came, Israel came. And by the time they came on ground and saw the quantity, the quality of the intelligence Nigerians have, the Nigerian Security Service, and the terrain in which they operate, it's difficult for them to assist. So they have no option than to tactically back out, because we must solve our local problems. It's a local problem, it has its local content, and we must solve our local problem before we go to international dimension. Not forgetting that terrorism is not just is an international crime. They have affiliations with Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and the rest of them. So, but let us handle the local content, the political content of the crisis we have in Nigeria before we start talking of the international dimension. But saying whether we've made progress on the issue of the Chibok girls and the insurgency generally, you recall that the federal government set up the Presidential Fact-Finding Committee on the Chibok, and everybody is talking of 219 girls. Before the fact-finding committee report, there were doubts, even within government circles, among Nigerians, whether there was actually an abduction. So I think that's a bold step that government has taken. The government also went ahead to establish the victim support program, where victims of insurgency will be taken care of, not in terms of providing food, like stomach infrastructure, which is now in our new lexicon, but in terms of development of the Northeast, in particular, in terms of infrastructure, provision, education, employment, and the rest of. But you cannot do all this in the present situation we find ourselves until peace is restored. That's why everybody is concerned. Nigerians are concerned that peace be restored in the Northeast.
But let me take you up on what you said earlier. You said, given the terrain and the political, affiliation of whatever content you said, what is it about? What's the terrain? What is this that would...
Well, you see, people don't seem to understand the size of Sambisa Forest. Sambisa Forest is 66,000 square kilometers, 3 times the size of Lagos, and larger than I'm not talking about Borno, larger than the whole of Southeast. And the terrain is such that it's only people who are there, who are resident there, familiar with the terrain, that can operate effectively there. And the insurgents also have their own mode of operation. Possibly they have their own, they also have their own intelligence arm, knowing full well that the military has been re-engineered and re-equipped to take on them. They decided to take these girls. And it becomes very difficult now for government or for the military to go into the Sambisa forest without endangering the life of these girls, because they have been used as human shield. So it becomes a problem. That's why I'm talking of the terrain. And the size of the place is not something like 66,000, I still want to repeat. That's not a means of a forest.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you for coming and for sharing your opinion.